Welcome to this Age of Empires 4 build order tutorial, and today we're doing a Delhi Sultanate Sacred Site Rush. Farman official here, and let's go through the build. So this is actually going to be very similar to my Delhi Sultanate build order for Arabia. That's a bit more flexible as an opening. That's on a separate video, but today we're doing a Sacred Site Rush. There's going to be some similarities, but of course this time we're going to really prioritize getting those scholars out and getting sanctity. So first things first is I usually like to get an extra scout. So right at the beginning of the build, from the town centre, we train an extra scout. That gives us 2 scouts on the field, means we can get loads of sheep and deny sheep for our opponent, and also get the really important scouting information. We need to know where those sacred sites are, we need to know where our opponent is and what they're going for. So the first villager that comes out from the town centre will actually immediately build a mosque. That villager will need to go to the straggler tree. So we will be getting a lumber camp a little bit later than expected or sometimes usually done. But that's all because we want to get the research from the mosque underway. We want to start off with piety. The next 3 villagers from the town centre will go to gold. So in order, we start off with a scout, a villager to build a mosque and then go to straggler tree, and then the next 3 villagers to gold. The starting villagers, as you've seen, have all gone to the mill, and once the mill has been built, of course you research wheelbarrow and all the other technologies really. Any time you build a production building or a kind of resource drop-off point, you need to start researching, because of course with the Delhi Sultanate the research stuff is all free, so we better get that underway. So once the mosque is built, we get piety, and as you can see we've now got 3 villagers on gold, so we're going to send the next 3 villagers to food to make 9 in total on food. As you can see, having that double scout is really useful. We've got so many sheep now, it's fantastic. And we're just going to keep on building our economy. As soon as we do have 50 wood, we will build a lumber camp, but we're not there yet. It's actually timed really well, because once you get 9 villagers on food, the next villagers are going to go to wood, and that's actually when you'll be able to afford the lumber camp. So it's pretty nicely timed actually. And we're actually going to research efficient production as well. We may kind of cancel that when we get to the feudal age, but we don't want to waste any sort of potential research time, so we're going to get that clicked, that's for sure. Okay, almost there with the food, and once you do get up to 9 on food, that's kind of your trigger point to start thinking about clicking up to the next stage. As you can see there, we just waypointed our town centre to wood, because now we're going to get all the new villagers to go to wood until we hit about maybe 15, 16, depending on your unit composition. We will talk about that in a little while, but as you can see now, we're going to be able to afford that lumber camp, and the next villager that comes out goes to wood as well. So it's all looking good. We're going to start unqueuing villagers and get up to the next stage. We take 4 villagers from berries. I've actually selected 5 there, but we put 1 back there to berries. There we are. So we're going to go up with basically 4 building the Dome of the Faith. We're going to keep our villagers on gold this time. And we don't want to lose that scout. We'll get the sheep back home round about now usually. And the villagers that are building the Dome of the Faith will go back to a food resource, whether that be sheep or berries. Doesn't really matter too much. And the next thing really that's important is wood. Just bearing in mind you're going to need a house, so we will be a little bit short. Well, we're not really actually, it's all calculated because you won't get housed. You've got 40 wood in the bank here. It's going to say that you have an issue with your housing at the moment, but you're going to just put down a house as soon as you have 50 wood using the gold villagers. We're technically not actually housed at this stage because the mechanics of Age of Empires 4 are that your buildings still produce the units, they just don't pop out until that house is built, and so we do actually have a little bit of time. That house is built already, and the villagers coming out, so there's actually no idle time on that town centre, which is fantastic. We're going to get the last few sheep that we can with our scouts, and then we're going to keep the scouts near our opponent to see what they're doing, because when we do hit feudal age, whilst we're going to get the cheaper scholars from the Dome of the Faith landmark and waypoint them to the mosque, we are going to start building a production building. So in this particular example, I go for horsemen and archers, which is great if you're up against archer openings from your opponent, for example, the English. Sometimes the Chinese do it as well. But if you're up against, say, the French when you're expecting knights, I'd recommend going for spearmen and horsemen, and that gives you the mobility. As you can see, we're up into feudal age. We're going to get all our techs. We're going to focus on horticulture, getting the wood upgrade, and we're going to build our production buildings. Okay, so new scholars go into the mosque, and the mosque now we're actually going to prioritize getting sanctity, because that's what's going to let our scholars basically get the sacred sites the age earlier. So we're aiming to have 6 scholars in total, 3 to go inside the mosque, and then once the mosque is full, we start to get the scholars from the Dome of the Faith to go out to the sacred sites. And it's actually good timing because it's essentially the time that we get sanctity. When we do have the scholars queued up in the landmark to come out, to make 6 in total, we actually take the villagers off of gold and they go to sheep underneath the town centre. So in this particular example, I started off with the archery range. You could just as well start off with a stable. Whichever production building you go for, make sure you build the production building and then you queue to build a house, because you will need the population space, that's for sure. So there's our 3rd scholar. And so now the new scholars from the Dome of the Faith will actually go straight over to a sacred site. And our army are also waypointed to usually the middle sacred site. That's what I'd go for. Thankfully, we're not being pressured too much in this game, which is okay, it's fine. And we're getting our 2nd production building now as a stable. Usually, actually, if you're going against English, you want to maybe get the stable first for the horsemen, because you should expect them, your opponent to go for longbowmen, essentially. So maybe get the stable first. But, you can switch it around. You can even go for the barracks if we're against the French first for the spearmen. It's not a problem, and the eco should work pretty well. Okay, so that's the 1st scholar to come out to the sacred site, and we're almost there with the sanctity. Let's see how long we've got left. 34 seconds. Yeah, it's looking good. Getting horsemen out as well. We're at 7 minutes. We've got some army on the field, and the great thing about Delhi is you can build walls with your infantry. So that's what we're going to do. We're actually going to get some palisade walls down with the archers to protect the sacred sites as well. Because one thing getting the sacred sites, you actually want to protect them as well. Make your opponent invest in rams and things like that, try and deny the sacred sites. But yeah, we're taking a bit of an engagement now, which is expected, and it is 7 minutes into the game. We should be having some pressure by now. But yeah, it's not too bad. Having a scholar there as well is quite useful for healing, as you can see. And yeah, it's looking good. Don't forget as well in Feudal Age to have gotten your economic upgrades. And we're actually going to start getting the sacred site now. And the great thing about going for archers or spearmen is basically the walling. That's what I'd always do. Go for one of the infantry units. And yeah, as soon as you can afford it in terms of wood, I'd drop the 1st of 2 blacksmiths. I tend to go for 2 blacksmiths with the Delhi because, of course, the research is free and you want to kind of get them as quick as possible. And you do actually have to wait around for them a little bit with the Delhi. So I tend to go for 2 blacksmiths. It's at the point that you've built the 2nd blacksmith. That's when I tend to take the villagers from the town centre to go to food. Waypointed to food rather than the wood. And as you can see now, we're going to have to use the wood anyway as well to, get these walls up. But this is pretty much the build, really. We want to get each new scholar from the Dome of the Faith landmark to go to the other 2 sacred sites. And yeah, we just keep producing military, protect these sacred sites, because the gold income is huge. Not only that, it forces your opponent into military. And if they went for a 2 town centre boom approach, well, then you're laughing, because you're going to be getting these sacred sites for a long time. And there you are. There's the 1st of the 2 blacksmiths. There's a 2nd. And yeah, we're rocking and rolling. We're going to get our upgrades, of course. And once we've secured the sites, it obviously triggers a win condition, which is great. You're probably not necessarily going to win the match like that, necessarily. But this gold income is going to be massive. And yeah, so that's pretty much the build order, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, we do have the PDF build orders for those who are interested in it. And yeah, if you'd like to see more build orders like this, do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Let me know in the comment section below if you recommend any adjustments or whether you would like to see any different build orders. Take care, guys, and see you next time.